We're in the midst of one of the worst financial and economic crises in several generations. It's a global crisis, and it requires a global solution. And that really is the purpose of this G20 meeting this week. The agenda is twofold: managing this crisis and preventing future crises like this from emerging again. And that means restoring growth on one hand and embarking on a whole series of regulatory and institutional reform efforts on the other. Restoring growth has at least four components. One is putting in place significant stimulus, fiscal and monetary, as you mentioned. Two is fixing, and very importantly, fixing the financial systems of each of our countries and getting lending going to support the economy. Three, avoiding protectionism. And fourth, taking steps to make sure that the international financial institutions have the resources and the tools they need to minimize the spread of the crisis to emerging markets and developing countries, or to mitigate the impact of the crisis on those countries. I think you'll find that the agenda of the G20 is robust in all of those areas. The second track is the regulatory and institutional reform track. And there's a long list of work programs that came out of the Washington Summit last November, and further work that's been done in any number of areas. And there will be work on expanding the scope of regulation to take into account all systemically important institutions, markets, and products. There will be efforts to encourage offshore financial centers to abide by internationally recognized norms and rules. There will be progress made on capital and how capital is thought of for financial institutions, making sure that capital requirements prevent crises from developing, but also don't exacerbate the crises when they do develop. And there'll be a series of institutional reforms, from expanding the Financial Services Forum to reforming the international financial institutions to creating methods for regulators and supervisors to cooperate with each other to deal with the global financial institutions that engage in cross-border activity. I think it's a robust agenda. There is broad consensus on the nature of the agenda, and I think it should be a very productive meeting.